at Numbers 25 and 26 tonight. 25 is real short, so we'll do 26 because it's one of those, again, that is a bunch of repetitions. So we'll just go through it, we'll read it. It's mainly reading, so there's not a whole lot of commentary on it. But we start out with 25. Last week, we were finishing up with Balaam and Balak, however you want to pronounce it. So this week, we're going right in. Now, Balak wanted Balaam to curse Israel. He couldn't do it, okay? God told him, you're not going to curse him. You're going to tell him what I tell you to tell you. And what he did, he blessed it. Balak was the king of Midian. He was very mad. He basically told him to get out. And he did. He kicked him out. But we don't really hear the rest of the story until 25, 26, and a little bit later in the scriptures. Balaam said, if you really want to get to them, here's what you do. Okay? So now that's what we're going to read. Now Israel remained in Achaia Grove, and the people began to commit harlotry with the women of Moab. They invited the people to the sacrifices of their gods, and the people ate and bowed down to their gods. So Israel was joined to Baal of Peor, and the anger of the Lord was aroused against Israel. So what he told them to do was to send your women in, your girls in to Israel, and have them to start intermingling with the people and get them to start following your gods. Get away from your God, the God of Israel. They were still there in the place where they were getting ready to go over and start their conquest of Canaan. But they hadn't as yet. They were still in this in-between time before they had started. They'd fought some battles, but they hadn't gone across the river Jordan. The area, a grove or a valley was where they were at. They were right at the foot of a mountain. The mountain was where Balak was showing Balaam off the top of it, the Israel, where they were all at. Mountain is what I understand is Peor. That's the name. It's not a name. That's the way it's translated. Peor is mountain over there, and Baal is just a god. The god that they actually are talking about here is called Chemosh. That's what I understand. So it is one of the gods that gives them trouble all through, because it's the god or gods of this group, the Canaanites, all this area, okay, the Midianites, the Moabites, all these different ites. He's one of the gods, and one of them that's repeated over and over again. And it's because they all say Baal of Peor. That's not really a god, it's one of the gods, okay? So what he wanted to do, he wanted the women to go over and seduce the men of Israel and get them to bow down to their gods. The two were commonly connected in perverse forms of idol worship in the ancient world. In this chapter, the women and the people are sometimes described as Midianites, sometimes as Moabites. This is because the Midianites were a nomadic group, and at this time were in high numbers among the Moabites. Okay? Now we remember Moses was his wife. Zipporah was a Midianite. Okay? But she didn't serve those gods as far as we know. She served the one true God. Her father did, Jethro, and some of the others. But these people were in with the Moabites, and they were serving these different gods. So, because of that, the anger of the Lord was aroused against Israel, it says. And it goes on and tells you down at the bottom what I was telling you earlier, that what Baal and Balak couldn't do, pay enough money to Balaam to do, they got it to do the old-fashioned way, basically. the Moabites being now neighbors to the Israelites and finding themselves unable to effect their design against Israel by war and witchcraft, they now felt another way to work. In the same way, Satan's violence and sorcery can have no lasting influence on the influence of the believer. But if he can lead us into sin, we can be destroyed. Balaam had done his best to curse Israel, but was unsuccessful. Yet his love of money wouldn't let the matter end without pleasing the man who hired the king. And what we know that, it says in 2 Peter 2:15 and 16, it says, "They have forsaken the right way and gone astray, following the way of Balaam, the son of Beor, who loved the wages of unrighteousness, but he was rebuked for his iniquity. A dumb donkey speaking with a man's voice restrained the madness of the prophet." And in Revelations 2 and 14, where God is speaking to John in the vision, he says, "But I have a few things against you, because you have there those who hold the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak to put a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat things sacrificed to idols, and to commit sexual immorality." So what the Old Testament doesn't really come up and tell us, the New Testament does. It fills in some of the blanks of what this was. So we see, reading just the Old Testament, you kind of think, well, Balaam may have been kind of a good guy. He wasn't really a good guy. He was out for money. He was out for himself. Yes, God uses some people like that. There are people that God will tell. And that has happened before. There are other prophets down through the ages that weren't really serving God. Or they thought they were and they weren't. They were listening to a different God.
His plan evidently worked. For him, anyway.
Well, for him, yeah. So it essentially, it worked. That's what it said. Balaam, through his wicked counsel to Balak, got what he wanted, but he also ended up dead among the enemies of God. Okay, we haven't got there, but you go on further down to chapter 31, and it tells us that Balaam got his deed is done. He only enjoyed his money for a short time, it says. Okay, 4 and 5, Brother Epson.
Then the Lord said to Moses, "Take all the leaders of the people and hang the offenders before the Lord out in the sun, that the fierce anger of the Lord may turn away from Israel." So Moses said to the judges of Israel, "Every one of you kill his men who have joined to Baal of Peor."
Okay, so here we have to, it leaves some things out again. We don't know exactly, it angered God. Because of that anger, we'll see in just a little bit, a plague started. And because of this, the Lord told Moses to take all the leaders of the people and go after these groups. Okay? That was actually instigators or involved in it some way, some form. So that's what they did. Said God thought it important that the offenders be judged openly. This was not sin to keep hidden. So it's one of those things that we have to be careful with what we do. They were doing it out in the open. We'll see that in just a minute. He asked all the leaders of the groups, the leaders of the thousands and hundreds, and all those groups, the princes, what they called the princes, which was basically the sons of the, and we'll see this coming up here when we take 26, so when they take the census, what they call the princes of the families. Take the leaders, and there were 70 of them. Remember, they had 70 leaders that Moses had set aside for this group. Those people go, and you take care of your own business. Some of them didn't have any. Okay, we don't know. We can kind of see in the next chapter, and I'll bring it out when it comes out, But the next chapter kind of shows us some of the results of the sin that happened, not only here, but for the whole 38 years. Okay? Each one of you kill his men who were joined to Baal of Peor. Okay? This sin's not tolerated or even approved in a culture. It's a sure sign of decay, and Moses wouldn't accept that decay. He commanded the community to bring the offenders to be judged, to show they would not accept this kind of sin in the midst of them. Okay, Iris, you want to read the next one?
And indeed, one of the children of Israel came and presented to his brethren a Midianite woman in the sight of Moses and in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel, who were weeping at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. Now when Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, saw it, he rose from among the congregation and took a javelin in his hand, and he went after the men of Israel into the tent and thrust both of them through the man of Israel and the woman through her body. So the plague was stopped among the children of Israel, and those who died in the plague were 24,000.
Few people, huh? So they went out. Phinehas, he is the son of Eleazar. Okay, Eleazar is the son of Aaron. Remember, Aaron had died, or in this particular time, if it's in the same order or correct order, Aaron had already passed away, and Eleazar, Eleazar was the high priest at the time. So his son Phinehas, being one of the princes, okay, one of the rulers, God came down upon him, so he took care of the problem. This guy, this guy that was in, and we'll learn his name here in a minute, and the name of the woman, they went into the tent. He brought her right across in front of all of them when they were praying to God. Okay? Now we see, if we go back and remember when some the other things like the snakes happened, as soon as it happened, the plague broke out. So I think that's what happened here. We're not told that. Whenever God's anger happened, the plague started. Okay? The people started falling down on their face. That's what they said before. So they were praying to God, but then Phinehas rose up and he saw what was going on, and he took his javelin or sword or whatever it was and ran both of them through and killed them right there. And because of that, that stayed the plague. Now, the number was 24,000. We'll read a little bit later on in 1 Chronicles, it says the number is 23,000. Okay? 23,000 was how many died in the plague. 1,000 is what the men put to death. So total 24,000 people died because of what happened here. So these are the ones that the plague stopped. Now, you can kind of imagine the way things happen. You got this great big group of people. Wherever it starts, that's where it's going to spread, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not going to start in the middle of something unless somebody starts it over here. It's going to start on the edge or around the side. It's kind of where it spreads out. What I'm saying is it probably started with one or two of the tribes. Is what we're guessing. Now, there may have been more people involved. There was 24,000 people involved. So it may have been some of each area, but we'll see in just a minute.
Kind of like one person gossip.
Yeah, it's exactly right. It says, this must have delighted Balak, king of Moab. He knew that Balaam succeeded in cursing Israel, or rather in getting them to curse themselves. They didn't have to do anything. Okay, 10 through 13, Ruby. It's on page 4 there, the
And
bottom.
the Lord spoken to Moses, saying, Phinehas, the son of Israel, the son of Aaron, the priest, was turned back my wrath from the children of Israel, because he was zealous in his zeal among them, so that I did not consume the children of Israel in my zeal. Therefore say, behold, I give to him the covenant of peace, and it shall be to him and his descendants after him a covenant of everlasting priesthood, because he was zealous for his God, and made atonement for the children of Israel.
Okay, so God recognized Phinehas and what he's going to be, and from his family. Now, Eleazar had more sons, but the high priest was going to go down through Phinehas's lineage. Now we see that depart a little bit later on when Eli, remember Eli, he is not one that took care of Samuel. Is when his mom brought Samuel there to train in the book before the judges or after the judges. He was not part of Eleazar's family. There was a couple of generations that wasn't, and that's because those guys did not follow God. So God's not going to keep his promise. If you don't keep your promise, he's not going to keep his. This particular covenant was contingent upon them following God. But after Eli, because Eli's sons didn't follow God, okay, also they both died, it went back to Eleazar's family. If you go and follow the history, is what I've understood. So for just a brief time, it still followed exactly what what God had promised them, if they will just still be zealous after their own heart, after his own heart. Okay, the next page, 14 to 18.
Now the name of Israelite who was killed, who was killed with the Midianite woman was Zimri,
Good enough.
the son of Saul, a leader of father's house among the Seminites. And the name of the Midianite woman who was killed was Cosbi, the daughter of Zor. He was head of the people of father's house in Midian. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, harass the Midianites and attack them, for they harassed you with their schemes by which they seduced you in the matter of Hir and in the matter of Cosbi, the daughter of the leader of Midian, their sister, who was killed the day of the plague because of Hir.
So here we get the details of who it was, and we kind of think that this was maybe one of the instigators, if not the instigator. But he was pretty high up. Zimri was his name, that's the way I call him, the son of Salu, which was a leader of the father's house among the Simeonites. Okay, Simeon was one of the brothers, one of the tribes. Remember that for just a few minutes, and we'll see what happens here with the tribe of Simeon. But because of this, God told them, okay, he told them before, don't mess with the Moabites because of Lot. We don't want to mess. Well, now he tells them, go and mess with the Midianites. Okay, go attack them because they harassed you. So they were going to, every opportunity they had, they were going to try. Now, it's one of those things that we think of like a battle, like we win a country, or we win. That particular wasn't that way. It was maybe a large town or a large area that the king had rule over, so they would conquer that one. There may be another Midianite over here, and another Moabite over here, and another one over here. So each one of them, as they, came upon them, they would attack them. They wouldn't attack them all at once. So now we jump to chapter 26, which is the second census of numbers. Now this is actually the third census that was taking place. The first census was taken back in Exodus when they left. Okay, when they left Egypt. Soon after that, they had a census. Well, at the early part, after a year after they'd gone and they were getting ready at the first of Numbers, they took a census before. So now this one's 38 years later. Okay, long time later. And it came to pass after the plague that the Lord spoke to Moses and Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, saying, take a census of all the congregation of the children of Israel from 20 years old and above, by their fathers' houses, all who are able to go to war in Israel. So Moses and Eleazar, the priest, spoke with them in the plains of Moab, by the Jordan, across from Jericho, saying, take a census of the people from 20 years old and above, just as the Lord commanded Moses and the children of Israel, who came out of the land of Egypt. So this is the same thing. They wanted to, and I'm not sure if it was for, I know it's not for God's benefit, but it's for their benefit to kind of see the way it was and that way it is. Okay? Now,
their number changed quite often in a large number. I mean,
yeah.
The ground opened up, spawned a bunch of
Exactly.
Here's the 24,000.
That's right, it did. So from the first census to now, it's been 38 years, okay? 5 through 11, Brother Everson.
Reuben was the firstborn of Israel. The children of Reuben were of Hanoch, the family of the Hanochites, of Paul, the family of the Paulites, of Hezron, and the family of Hezronites, of Carmel, the family of the Carmelites. These are the families of the Reubenites. Those who were numbered of them were 43,730. Now the son of Palu was Elah, and the son of Elah was Nemuel,
Close enough.
Dathan, and Abram, and they are Dathan and Abram, representatives of the congregation who contended against Moses and Aaron in the company of Korah, and when they contended against the Lord, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up together with Korah when the company died. And when the fire devoured 250 men, they became a sign. Nevertheless, the children of Korah did not die.
Okay. So now we're going to go through each tribe that it went through from the beginning, and it's going to tell us a little history. Now, Reuben had a little bit more history with them because each one of these go back to Reuben. How many sons did Reuben have? Well, each one of these is what it tells us. Palu is a son, Hanoch is a son, Carmi is a son. He had those 3 sons there. And then those had sons underneath them. And it goes about, tells them, well, this son of Eliab were Nemuel, Dathan, and Abram. The last 2, Dathan and Abram, were the ones that contended with Moses. Remember, we read about that a few chapters ago. The earth opened up, like Brother Everson said, and swallowed them. Okay? That was kind of earlier on in the time frame. And then fire came down and burned up 250 of them. There was 250 with them also. So, but it does bring us in, but not all of the children of Korah, the one that was one of the instigators, not all of his children died. It said the children of Korah did not die. So if you compare Reuben, the tribe of Reuben, they had 46,500 men. 38 years later, they had 43,730. They had a loss of 2,770 men. So we got to remember that that group that got swallowed up, they basically replaced themselves. Didn't quite get back up to where they were, but they were. The Reubenites was one. Now, one of the reasons they think that, and we brought this out, I think, when we talked about it, Reuben was the firstborn. of all the 12. And he was one of the ones, or his family, what he was dead and gone, but his family thought they ought to be leaders instead of Moses and Aaron, because they were of a later tribe. Okay? They came later in the birthright. They just thought that's one of their reasonings why they should have some power, more power than they do. That's what God told them. Hey, I didn't, just because you were born at a certain time doesn't mean anything. He said most of the time you'll get a blessing, but not for you guys. So these were the two that were taken up with these. So this group, the Reubenites, was one that they had a big loss in. It's not a big loss. I mean, 2,770 men out of that. It's 6%. So they, over the 38-year time period, they lost a lot, but then they gained back more people. And these are just the men that are between 20 and the fighting age men. So this became the sign, God's judgment of Dathan, Abiram, and Korah and their followers in Numbers 16 surely was a sign both to the generation and the wilderness beyond. Okay, you're going to try 12 through 14 hours? Just get the names close. Just get the names as close as you think.
Yeah, that's what we try. I'll try to do, I think.
The sons of Simeon, according to their families, were Nemuel, the family of the Nemuelites of Jamin, the family of the Jaminites of
Sounds good.
the family of the Shechanites of Serah, the family of the Serites of Shaul, the family of the Shaulites. These are the families of the Simeonites, 22,200.
Okay. So these had more sons.
And they'd be tired after all
Yeah.
that.
These guys, Simeon had several sons, as we can see each one of these is a group. And sometimes the names of the sons were same. See that Nemuel, there's a Nemuel up here too. So that's why they'd say the Nemuel, son of so-and-so. Nemuel, son of Simeon. Nemuel, son of Reuben. That's how they differentiated them. Okay? It's kind of their first and last name. But here, this particular case, the first census, Simeon had 59,300 men. Now they only have 22,200. They lost 37,000 men, almost 63%. Now remember what I say? Remember what tribe that Zimri was from? Simeon. Simeon, the guy we just talked about, 25.
Judah?
Him and the Moabite woman.
Was it Judah?
No, it was Simeon.
Simeon.
Okay? They lost 24,000, we know, in that group. Now, it may not have all been Simeonites, but it sure looks like there's a big portion of them because he was one of the leaders of that group. So they lost a lot. So you can kind of see, you compare Reuben, that lost a lot, they lost several thousand also, but they lost 38 years before. Now, Simeon lost it, but they just lost it. So they lost a lot right then. They were hurt. You want to try the next one, Ruby, or you want me to go through them? I'll do it. The sons of Gad. You know Gad. You remember him. According to their families, were of Zephon, the family of Zephonites, Haggai, the family of Haggites, Shunai, the family of Shunites, Ozni, the family of the Oznites, of Eri, the family of Erites, of Arod, the family of the Arodites, of Areli, the family of the Arielites. These are the families of the sons of Gad, according to those who were numbered of them, 45,500. So before, they had 45,650. Now, they only had 40,500. They lost 5,150 men. 11% of their group. So they may have been. Now you got to remember too, okay, how were these groups put together around the camp? They were put together in certain areas. So like I said, if Simeon was in this area, Who's the group next to him? Well, I think it was Gad. And it probably leaked over into Gad. Maybe it leaked over into Reuben a little bit. So that's why I say it was contained in certain areas. Even if you go back to Dathan and the one before, Korah, I'm sure it was probably contained to a particular area in a particular tribe. Okay? We're not told that, but it seems like that may have been what it was. Okay? Now we're done. Well, we're not done with losing people, but now we're gaining. Okay? You want to go to the next one? Try it, Bertha?
23, 25?
19 through 23. Right in the middle.
Oh, in the middle. The son of Judah, and Onan, and Onan died in the land of Canaan, and the sons of Judah, according to their families, were of Shea, the family of Shilonites, of Perzi, and the family of Perzlites, of Zerah, and the family of Zerites, and the son of Perzites were the Herons, and the family of Heronites was Hamulu, and the family of Hamulites. These are the families of Judah, according to those who were numbered of them, 76,500.
Okay. They were a big tribe anyway. Remember, they were the biggest tribe before. They had 74,600 men 38 years later. Before. Now they have 76,500. They grew. Judah is one of the ones you can kind of see the ones that were following after God. They grew, it seems like. The ones that weren't following after God, they declined. And we'll see there's a table at the end we'll look at, and you can kind of take a peek. It's towards the end of the chapter. It has the pluses and minuses, which ones gained and which ones lost. But Judah was the one, they gained a small amount. They gained 1,900 men, 3%. Not a whole lot, but they were a big tribe to begin with. Okay. Now the bottom, the sons of Issachar, according to their family, were Tola, the family of Tolites, Puah, the family of the Punites, Jashub, the family of the Jashubites, of Simran, the family of the Shimronites. These are the families of Issachar, according to those who were numbered of them, 64,300. So Issachar had 54,400 men in the first census. Now they got 64,000. They've got 9,900 more men. They gained a lot. Okay? You want to try the next one, Brother Everson?
No, go ahead.
The sons of Zebulun, according to their families, were of Zerad, the family of the Sardites, of Elam, the family of the Elonites, of Jehaleel, the family of the Jahelites. These are the families of the Zebulunites, according to those who were numbered with them. 65,500 or 60,500. They started out with 57,400. Now they're up to 60,500. They gained 3,000 men. So they were a positive influence. Okay, seemingly. I'll just read the rest of them so you all don't have to. I don't flail over them. I just blurt them out whether it's right or wrong. Sons of Joseph. That's easy. According to their families. Now, Joseph had two sons, remember, okay? Manasseh and Ephraim. The sons of Manasseh, Machir, the family of the Machirites. Machir begot Gilead. Gilead, the family of the Gileadites. These are the sons of Gilead, of Jezir, the family of the Jezreelites. Of Helek, the family of the Helekites. Of Asriel, the family of the Asrielites. Of Shechem, the family of the Shechemites. Of Shemedah, the family of Shemadites. Of Hefer, the family of the Hephronites. Now Zelophehad, the son of Hefer, had no sons, but daughters. And the names of the daughters of Zephilad were Mahalah, Noah, Haglah, Miklah, and Tirzah. These are the families of Manasseh, and those who were numbered of them were 52,700. Now this group, Manasseh, went from 32,200 to 52,700. They gained 20,500. They gained 64%. Where the others lost 64%, they gained 64%. That's amazing. These are the sons of Ephraim, according to the families of Shulatah, the family of the Shulanites, of Becher, the family of the Becherites, of Tahan, the family of the Tahanites. And these are the sons of Shulatah, of Eran, the family of the Eranites. These are the families of the sons of Ephraim, according to those who were numbered of them. 32,500. These are the sons of Joseph, according to their families. So Ephraim had 40,500 before, now 32,500. They lost 8,000 men. So quite a bit, 20% of their group. Sons of Benjamin, according to the families, were Bela, the family of the Belalites, Ashabel, the family of the Ashbelites, of Ahiram, the family of the Ahiramites, of Shupam, the family of the Shupamites, of Hupham, the family of the Huphamites. Of the sons of Bela were Ard and Naaman. Of Ard, the family of the Ardites. Of Naaman, the family of the Naamites. These are the sons of Benjamin according to their families. And those who were numbered of them were 45,600. Before they had 35,400. Now they got 45,600. They gained 10,200 men, almost 29%. And you can see the families as they grow, and early on, if the early people had a lot of kids, it's a big long way. This next one, Dan, it didn't. He just had a couple, Shumanites. The family of the Shumanites. These are the families of Dan according to their families. All the families of the Shumanites according to those who were numbered were 64,400. So Dan, he just had a one son, evidently, that survived. Okay, they may have had more sons, but they didn't survive that 38 years. They died early or didn't have any sons when they died. They may have been one of those that was, over 40, didn't have kids. He had 62,700 men. Later they counted 64,400, so a gain of 1,700. Asher, according to the family, was Jimnah, the family of Jeminites, of Jeshui, the family of the Jeshuites, of Bera, the family of the Berites, of the sons of Beri, of Heber, the family of the Heberites, of Malachi, the family of the Amalekites, and the name of the daughter of Asher was Sarah. These are the families of these sons of Asher, according to those who were numbered with them, 53,400. They started out with 41,500. 38 years later, they're up to 53,400. So they gained 11,000 men. Naphtali. The sons of Naphtali, according to their families, Jahaziel, the family of the Jahzelites, of Guni, the family of the Gunites, of Jezer, the family of the Jezerites, of Shillem, the family of the Shillemites. These are the families of Naphtali according to their families, and those who were numbered of them were 45,400. They had 53,400 before, now 54,000 or 45,400, and a loss of 8,000 men. So these are those who were numbered of the children of Israel, 601,730. Okay? So if you go to the next page, it'll show you the table I was talking about, and you have to kind of hold it up to see the total at the bottom. That they had 603,550 men on the first census. Now they have 601,730 men. Overall, they lost 1,820 fighting men in that 38-year period. You can see on the table there how that changed. It went up, some went down. It's just interesting to me how each one of them, came across and how they prospered. We don't see a whole lot about it. They tell us, but they don't tell us because of the other things that happen, like we said. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, to these the land shall be divided, I'm on page 8 in the middle, as an inheritance according to the number of names. To a large tribe you shall give a larger inheritance. To a small tribe you shall give a smaller inheritance. Each shall be given its inheritance according to those who were numbered of them. But the land shall be divided by lot. They shall inherit according to the names of the tribes of their fathers, according to the lot. Their inheritance shall be divided between the larger and the smaller. So the Lord is just, to me, it's common sense. If you got more people, you need more room. And that's what he's saying. For this area, you'll give Judah a big area.
They didn't take the census of Levi, did
They did. That's here coming up. It's not. It'll be right at the end of this one. But they didn't take either census. Now they did take a census of Levi, okay, but it was separate from those. They just measured the working men, okay, which was different ages than the warriors. So you can't even add all of them up because they're two different things. Now the tribe of Levi, okay? These are those who were numbered with the Levites according to their families of Gershon, the family of the Gershonites, Kohath, the family of the Kohathites, Merari, the family of the Merarites. These are the families of the Levites, the families of the Libanites, the family of the Hebronites, family of the Mahalites, the family of the Mushites, and the family of the Korathites. And Kohath begot Amram. The name of Amram's wife was Jochebed, the daughter of Levi, who was born to Levi in Egypt. And to Amram she bore Aaron and Moses, and their sister Miriam. To Aaron were born Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar. Nadab and Abihu died when they offered profane fire before the Lord. Here again, reviewing some history. Now those who were numbered of them were 23,000, every male from a month old and above, for they were not numbered among the children of Israel, because there was no inheritance given to them among the children of Israel. They did not get any land. They served the Lord.
They were the workers, the servants.
They were the priests,
Yeah,
the Levites. God, in each area, they would have a group for the Levites. They would give them a place to live, but it was within each tribe, okay? Each of the other tribes, the 11 tribes, they gave them part of their area to live. It wasn't theirs to hold, as property. They couldn't but it was theirs to live in. It says they were not numbered neither in the first or second census, because none of their men go to war. I don't know if you heard just the other day, they voted, well, it's been a couple months ago now, that the very Orthodox Jews, they can draft them now. Before they couldn't draft them. Now they can, if they want. So even up until almost today, the Levites wasn't counted as part. And I don't know if they're actually Levites, all of them. But
one of the places, okay, he had 12 sons. Okay? Joseph, but Joseph didn't get, but he had 2 sons.
he had 2 sons.
So that makes 13 tribes.
But you take Levi out. Okay, because he didn't get, there's not an area called Levi anywhere. It's Manasseh and Ephraim. So
when you take Joseph and Levi out,
yeah, and replace them with his 2.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. Because for whatever reason, that's what it is. That's what God saw it.
Special blessing to Joseph.
It was. And if you think Manasseh grew more than Ephraim did, well, you go back to that blessing, and when his father was getting ready to lay his hands on the 2 sons, and he crossed them, and the blessing on the right hand, which went to Manasseh, that goes back to this too. Manasseh grew better than what Ephraim did. Even though Ephraim was more.
Issachar, they increased. But the Bible says Issachar were great men, and they knew what Israel should do.
Right.
I mean, if you follow their history, most of all these guys, they increases. There was something in that tribe that.
Something positive.
Some blessing that they got.
They got because they were following God. Where the others wasn't. And if you follow that on down, all of them essentially fall off until you leave the tribe of Judah. It's the only tribe. Because you had the tribe of Judah and then Israel, which was all the other tribes at the time of Jesus and all them. So these are those who were numbered by Moses and Eleazar the priest, who numbered the children of Israel in the plains of Moab by the Jordan, across from Jericho. But among these there was not a man of those who were numbered by Moses and Aaron, the priest, when they numbered the children of Israel in the wilderness of Sinai. For the Lord had said, they shall surely die in the wilderness. So there was not left a man of them except Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, and Joshua, the son of Nun. Now that's a little bit yes and no. Yes, 99.99%, that's right. Because you had Joshua and Caleb. But you also had Eleazar. He's a high priest. He was there. Ithamar, he was there. Some of the others was there. Okay? So there was a handful, and they say that because the Levites were again, promised or special because they were serving God, not many of them fell out in any of these things. They were closer to God than a lot of the other tribes were as far as keeping the ordinances and everything. So they were blessed in that way. So they didn't fall for the tricks of the devil, if you want to say it that way. Okay?
Thank you very much, sir.
All right. See you next week.
Well, I'll be back. I'll check review and I'll be back.